Hey y'all. So I wanted to just talk about relationships and people's ideals of what relationships should look like and how it should look like. I think that's it. Hold on, y'all. I think this is it. Yeah, so I was just thinking about my homegirl, and love her, you know what I'm saying? And growing up, I felt like in order to be considered a friend, or in order for a relationship to be considered close, or y'all tight, y'all have to spend time all the time with each other. Sorry y'all. I should put this on, right? All right, cool. But what I'm learning is, a relationship and the closeness really starts, or really should start, in your heart, or whatever. In your heart, for one another. And I would feel bad every time I couldn't be there for her in a particular way, and it got to the point where being there for her in a particular way, it got burdensome. And when I say burdensome, I mean like I started getting an attitude, and just feeling irritated towards her, And so I'm kind of mixing things, but follow me. So after a while, I had to make a decision, and I had already gotten advice from some of my friends, from some, my homeboy or whatever about it, because like I said, I wanted to be there for her. I didn't want her to feel like that she was doing this life alone or whatever, because a lot of, and I'll just speak for my who I am. When I got into like, okay, I'm gonna be like Jesus and blah blah blah, and I feel like I could take on the world, but it's like that's not my job. The Bible says that Jesus has overcome the world, not Nina. Nina didn't overcome nothing. I overcome through Jesus, not because I did it. No. Responsibility is on Jesus' shoulders. You know what I'm saying? So I had to make a decision that, hey, I can't do this anymore for you, but I'm still here for you. I'm still here for you. And just because we don't see each other that much, or just because I'm not extending my hand out to help you, doesn't mean that I'm not there for you, And as life permits, we'll see each other, We'll see each other, So I have a little gathering that I'm going to have pretty soon, and she came into my mind. I was like, okay, I got to remember to invite her or whatever, because I want her to there's some family members that she hasn't met or whatever, and I would like for her to fellowship with us. I would like for her to hang out, and party, you know what I'm saying? And I guess God is kind of like teaching me to not feel guilty about being everywhere for everybody, do what you can, and just because, and like going back to like your ideals of what relationships are supposed to look like, do what you can, do what you can, and there are times where you can push yourself to do a little bit more, and I've done that. I remember when I really didn't want to pick up my homegirl. I really didn't want to pick her up because I was so tired of driving. Like I drive a lot, you guys. So I was just like, I just don't feel like picking nobody up. I'm tired of driving. But I ended up doing it because I made a promise. And so even though I was irritated about picking her up, I was glad that I picked her up, because of what we ended up doing that day. And I was just like, I'm so glad that I, pushed past my feelings and just did it, and it just it worked out or whatever, so it was worth it, and then, and I'm gonna shift to another thing that we do, as far as friendships and relationships. We let what we see dictate to us how our relationships should be. That's friendship, that's romantic or friendship, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's no one way of how to have a relationship or how to be close to people, and really and honestly, I'm learning that distance doesn't mean that someone's not close to your heart. And it just makes me think about Paul, and how he longed to be with his loved ones. And I'm not talking about family members. I'm talking about his loved ones, people that he met in the faith, his churches that he started up. He longed to be with them. He really did. And he even, tried to be with him. But because of the work that he was doing for the Lord, it prevented him from coming sometimes and seeing them. Paul's priority was the will of the Father. He also wanted to see people. Sometimes he couldn't, but that didn't mean that Paul didn't do what he could. He would write to them and express how much he loves them, and I feel like a lot of times in relationships, sometimes we want people to be a certain way and we don't appreciate what they can give in the capacity that they have right now. That person may not have the capacity right now to do for you like you would like for them to do for you. And you have to accept what they can give. And then just pray God's will for them to have more in his timing. You don't know what God will do and how he will change that person's heart in due timing, and then they may have the capacity to give more. But it's all a process. We're all in a process. And I'm not just preaching to you, I'm preaching to myself, because I be having unrealistic expectations sometimes. You know what I'm saying? For people who I am in relationships with, And so I'm gonna shift it to another example. Men and women. A lot of people think that men and women can't be friends. And in my opinion, I don't agree. According to what I read in my word and what I'm experiencing in my life, I believe that friendship has no gender. It shouldn't just be, I only have women friends or whatever. Like, love is love. You know what I'm saying? Like, love is love when it comes to, having relationship with one another. Now, your maturity level can dictate whether or not you can have the opposite sex as a friend. Or, I should say this, your maturity level can dictate if you're able to have a healthy relationship with the opposite sex, And that doesn't mean that you won't have slip-ups or you won't make mistakes or whatever. But a lot of times we make a rule, and we say we just say, just don't do it at all. You shouldn't do it at all. And I just don't agree with that. Like for instance, you got some married couples that feel like they shouldn't have any, like their husband or wife shouldn't have any opposite sex friends. And I just don't agree with that. I just don't. Like, I feel like, someone having a female friend and he's a man has nothing to do with whether or not he can do it, but it has everything to do with his maturity level. And you need to gauge that by person. One man may not be at a maturity level to have women friends because, you know, he just gonna, you know, run amok. You know what I'm saying? And the other dude can have female friends and he's fine. And he really looks at them like friends or sisters or whatever. And that's that relationship, you know? And I feel like you shouldn't put what do you call it? You shouldn't put rules on your partner to not do certain things because you may not be at a maturity level to do that. So like for instance, if your husband can have female friends, but you can't have, or you yourself know that, hey, I can't have male friends. That's you. That's your walk. But for your husband's walk, that's not the same thing. You can't input on, you can't impute, or you can't like put on what your struggle is onto someone that's not their struggle. You can't do that. That's your struggle. So you stay in your lane and you let him have his lane, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And I know some people may say, oh, well, it's about respect. And it's just like, no, it has nothing to do with respect. It has everything to do with maturity. Everything to do with maturity. And yes, you know, you want to respect, you know, your partner's boundaries, but even still, like, for me, that's bondage. You know, you're over there setting a rule because of your insecurity, and you want to call it respect, and you say, well, I don't like you talking to other females. That's just respect. Respect me. No, you don't. You have an issue in your heart called lack of trust. You don't trust well. So you need to deal with the lack of trust in your heart and not put that on to your significant other. That's not fair to him, and that's not fair to her. Now, if your partner decides that, you know what, because I love you, and it really has nothing to do with love, it has everything to do with a choice. Because I'm choosing to do this, I will appease, you know, your request. But make no mistake, that person doesn't have to appease to your insecurities. Now, if they choose to, it's their choice. And they say, hey, because you don't like this, I will do this for you. You know, but to keep someone doing that for the rest of y'all's marriage, to me, that's jail. That's bondage. You know, at some point you need to, in your heart, need to do some what do you call it? You need to do some self-healing. You know, you need to heal seriously, because it makes no sense for the two of you to be stagnant. We should be ever evolving in our hearts. We should be ever growing, you know? And that's not just for romantic relationships, that's for friendships, period. I mean, man, if y'all knew, you know, I'm not too far from, you know, old Nina, you know what I'm saying? I'm new in this, but, you know, Nina back in the day, you know, used to put stipulations and rules on her friends, on her friendships, and it just wasn't okay, you know, because I thought, or because I had it in my mind what loyalty meant, or, you know, what it meant to be a friend. I wanted to put that on my friends, and I look back and I'm like, wow, like, you really were burdensome, bruh. Like, chill out, Nina. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, because now that I'm a little older, and it has nothing to do with age, by the way, but I'm just saying, now that I'm a little, you know, time has passed and I've seen the error of my ways or whatever, I'm able to like reassess. And not only that, I see for myself, I wouldn't want that pressure on myself. I don't, and if anybody knows me, I don't like being controlled. Don't control me. Don't do that. Let me be free, and let me figure it out for myself. You know, and if you're right, then, you know, it'll come out. But get off my back, okay? But, you know, so if I had that same mentality, then I'm pretty sure somebody else is probably, you know, could potentially be the same way. They want to figure life out for themselves, and they have that right to. And not only figure out life themselves, but, you know, you shouldn't put a mindset on someone else and they just don't think that way, you know. if your capacity to love them is based upon whether or not they adopt your mindset, then you have to be honest with yourself. You really are not loving that person. You're loving that person based upon their agreement with you. As long as they agree with you, as long as they do what you want them to do, as long, then everything's cool. But then when they step out of that boundary, then your love is conditional. That's not love. That is not love, bruh. It's not love. So, those are the two examples that I'm going to use or whatever. There's other examples that I could probably go into, but for time purposes, I'm not going to do that. I'll be talking all day. But, I hope that this video will help you to reassess your ideals and what you think is right and what you think is wrong. And when it comes to relationships, romantic or friendship, we really need to just, make sure that we are always in a posture to grow, and it's okay to change your mind about things, and say, what, I used to think this way. I don't think this way anymore. You have that right to do that. You have the right to grow, and don't let your friends or your circle or just people or whatever try to make you feel bad for, well, you used to be this way. And it's like, okay, well, I don't think that way anymore. What are you going to do? You're going to shoot me? Okay, cool. Chill out. Like, no, you have the right to grow. Y'all have seen that meme out on Instagram. You have the right to grow. You have the right to change your mind. You have the right to, figure life out. And then also extend that freedom to other people. You know what I'm saying? And don't let people make you feel bad for growing. I got family members that, like, they have issues in their heart, and because I made the decision to follow Christ, they think that, oh, well, this is how you are. And it's just like, no, you just think that Christians are this way because you've had bad experiences with Christians and you're putting that image on me. And that's not the case. If you look at my life that I put out on Instagram, you'll see that I'm not like that. And I've tried to talk to you about my life, but you don't want to listen. So, I can't help it because you choose not to listen to me when I try to open up to you. So don't sit there and say, oh, well, you're private. No, I'm not. I'm very much an open book. The chances that you have to get to know me, you just didn't take those chances. So that's in your heart. That's not in my heart. Don't put that on me, bruh. People sure like to put stuff on other folks when it's really a condition in their heart. But anyway, that's really all that I have. I love you guys, and y'all pray for me, and I'll be praying for y'all. All right, bye.